good people, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Good to see you today. So my channel is about remote jobs, the skills that you need to land yourself a remote job, and platforms that you are able to apply for these remote jobs. And also I'll be sharing my journey as I transition from a social media strategist to a UX designer and how that has been. And on today's topic, we are going to talk about my portfolio. So I definitely did some mistakes the first time I did set up my portfolio. So we'll look at the mistakes that I made while setting up my portfolio. My first case study, things I wish I knew earlier before selecting my case study, and what I would have done differently if I was to redo the case study again, and also things that I learned from that case study. So the mistakes that I made on my case study, I'm going to show them to you and you will be able to, yes, walk with me. All right, so as you can see, I've titled it Old Case Study, and I chose booking website. And then the other thing you were supposed to choose, it's whether you want to do a native app, a mobile app, and if you want to do a website. Now, that was, I would say, my mistake number one.
I chose our website.
And there's nothing wrong with doing website, but I think with a mobile, because it's a smaller screen, I would have learned so much designing for a smaller screen. I will have gained more insight compared to a website, because the website is the easy option, let me say that. But the mobile app, on the other hand, is a bit challenging because you're designing for a small screen. So I wish I would have chosen, started with an app first, and then I would have developed a responsive website for that. That was my number one. Number two mistake that I did with my first case study, I did not make my website responsive because I was learning so many things at the same time. And by responsive, I mean is it can fit in any screen that someone is using, whether it's a tablet, it adjusts itself to a tablet. So for me, I didn't even make it responsive. I just make it for a laptop size. Now, those are the pitfalls. What I learned also with the process is depending on the type of project you're doing, the UX process might start differently. I think in my head, I had this idea that all processes, they have to start with a competitive analysis. They have to start. So until later on, I realized you have to choose the type of research depending on the app that you are designing for. And that research is what you think will give you the best information to rule out any biases you had while going into that case study. I used very simple means. I did an online survey, I did a usability test, but then in this case, how we did the usability test was different with how on Coursera the course made me do the usability test, because Coursera, the usability test came after the design process, or rather the first brainstorming process where I have my wireframes, and now I am testing on my wireframes. But when I compare it to the UX Design Institute, they were teaching me the skill of doing a usability test. So I did not carry out the first usability test on my own prototype. I carried out on a competitor's website, on a competitor's platform. So those are some of the challenges that I would say I faced while learning and doing this course. Now, enough of that. Let's look at my... All right, so here's my case study. So one thing I've learned about case studies is you're doing them for the recruiting manager. So they need to see the problem, the goal, and the solution at once in a glance, and then now everything else follows. So on my first case study, you can see definitely it's a hotel website. Ideally, I think this would have been better if I had the overview here and then what the overview of this project is, because already I've introduced this on the other side of this case study, where on my portfolio where someone needs to click. So I've already introduced what I'm doing. So this was kind of repetition and redoing exactly what I had already done. Then you have the overview. So if you see the overview of my portfolio, I focused it more of it was a project for my diploma in UX design and then UX Design Institute. This is ideally not the overview of the project. The overview of the project should be, what was I creating? It was for the purpose of what? And in this case, let's say it's for a hotel. I should have said the overview should ideally, if I was to restructure this, would be this is a hotel booking website for a chain of hotels that are located in areas, multiple cities in the world. That is the overview. So I was designing a responsive website to help their clients search and book for a hotel in their desired destination. Then I should have put my problem here as well, somewhere here in the, what was the problem? What was I trying to solve? So the first thing is the problem should have been users were not able to seamlessly book and search for the location, the desired location, and book a stay with breakfast on it, for example. So that should have been the problem here. And then I should list there the solution. So the solution would have been what comes to the end. So already by the recruiter going through this part of my portfolio, they should get the idea. So they should get the overview, the solution that I had, the goal of my project. And then now I get into the details of that particular case study. So in my case, you see the goal. I also, again, focused the goal of me learning about UX. This is not the goal. The goal of this is to help the users either book seamlessly or help the users search for their desired destinations for their stay. That should have been the goal, not about me again. The structure was fine. So I went, or rather, I put everything. I put everything in this portfolio. My user research, I put in my competitive analysis here. I put my online service. I actually put all the questions and all the responses. I put my qualitative. I put my note taking. All these are research methods in UX for you to help you gather as much information for your potential user as possible. But then ideally, I should have summarized this into insights, the key insights. So I should have, yes, highlighted, but not everything. Parts of them, I would have said, this is what I did. I did an online survey, maybe have this part and this part. So ideally, I should have just shown quickly and then have the key insights. And then I go to the affinity mapping. I should not have put all the affinity map here because now you can't even read. Well, it's good, but you can't even read. I should have also picked the key most pain points of what I gathered on my theme and just have them there, the key most that I was going to work on. And then now the customer journey map, this was okay. It's okay however you decide to put on the customer journey map because it's an image. It's just showing the stages of how your customer felt throughout the particular app. All right, so those are some of the pitfalls of my case study. All right, today the video might be a bit longer, so bear with me. So the user flow, it was okay. And then now when it comes to the designing phase, instead of having all my sketches here in a flow and all that, amazing. But I should have picked the highlights of this is the initial thoughts of what I did as a sketch, and then I should have, in those initial thoughts, I should have put it, this is how I was able to iterate it into a design. Now on the wireframe, I should have been able to put the wireframes here, referencing back my key insights. So if insight number one was the user was not able to search for a hotel, they were not able to search, or rather they were not able to access the search bar easily, I should have shown how my design is going to highlight that feature. It's going to show, is going to enhance the visibility of the search bar. Okay, so again, I just put everything here. So this thing, when you look at it, it looks beautiful, it looks nice, but it's not telling a story, because in UX, I need to tell the story of how you need to be a storyteller. You need to show what the problem was, or what the user, the process you took to understand this user, that is what is empathizing is, how you brainstormed, how you got to your design, and then now going back again to testing it again with the user. So again, so ideally, I came here, I did put a few high fidelity prototypes. I also did put a link to my portfolio, to my prototype, which is okay. And then now from the usability test, the feedback, and then learnings. So the learning, it's not what I learned as a student, it's what I learned about the user or this process. What I learned, for example, is I cannot completely remove add-ons because they are business needs and they bring revenue to the business. So I need to figure out a way in which I need to incorporate the add-ons without the user feeling like they're overwhelmed, but at the same time they're able to leverage them to generate more revenue for the business. So those are some of the things I should have highlighted here as my learning. And then for the next steps, well, here I did say adding a functional map on the website and all that. That's a good next steps, but also it requires me to go back to doing a few research around it to actually verify the users want the users need the map, because in the UX process, you just don't put something because you think it's good to be there. You purely put it there based on users' feedback. So if the user struggled or they didn't know about it or that. The other thing is probably I didn't highlight how I made my app accessible. We call it accessible design just to be inclusive of all people who would love to use your particular website. So yes, that's it. I will do my current portfolio in another video so that I don't make this video unbearingly long. So that's how my case study looks like. For case studies and your portfolio, you have to keep adjusting, you have to keep iterating, you have to keep going back and seeing, do you have a story around it? Other than that, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope this was helpful. I hope I'm open for criticism. So if you're a senior UX designer and you'd like to give me some insights, some things that I should do, or where you think maybe I might have misinterpreted things, feel free to comment on the comment section and enlighten me as well. Let's learn from each other. So thank you. See you next time.